Alrighty then, Infinity Battlescape, a game? Or rather, early access for a game, or at least a project. Because you know, in my book, a game is a released thing, rather than a perpetual alpha or whatnot else, like some other things are. So anyways, more than a year ago actually, I did ask for an access to the project in the state that it was back then.
Oh boy. Oh no! Oh noes! I have no idea what I'm doing! Oh shit!
Yeah, it was very raw, to say the least. So then the main question is, how has it changed? Well, as I usually head in first in the options rather than gameplay, to my dismay, apparently you can't remap the mouse axes. So that very much reminds me of No Man's Sky and its pretty horrible options. I mean, this is better, but, you know, still misses a couple of things at the very least. And on top of that, it's wonderful to see that motion blur you can't disable, because that's always amazing to play with. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a motion blur off. No, but seriously, motion blur is good on video. Yeah, it makes the video look, pretty nice. But when playing with it, it feels like somebody's trying to reach out and pull your heart out through your anus. So any motion blur is pretty bad, and I wish to disable it. Okay, Yamiks, what is this game about? Well, as the developers themselves describe it, it's a space combat game with a lot of players in one server being able to play together. Now I wonder where I have heard that before. Ah yes, the good old Dead Horse Planet side! But instead of having a continent-wide tug-of-war with mixed arms like aircraft, land vehicles, and infantry, this is all about aircraft, or in this case rather spacecraft. Still, a lot of players in one server doing, mutual joystick waggling still color me interested. And for the most part, the visuals are gorgeous, or at least there is potential for wonderful scenery for sure. There are some pretty interesting procedurally generated planets. And this is the planet's surface, huh? Well, it's loading in progress. It's literally loading in, oh my god, it's loading in progress the hard way. But hey, it looks really nice. It does really look nice. Obviously it needs a bit more variety, but that'll come in time, I think. So, in comparison to— oh god, no! Fuck! Okay, one misstep and you're dead. Well, not exactly like that. You know, you can always just give them a bit of moment. Regardless, the controls, well, aside from the ability to fully bind them all, are easy to understand and quite well placed. And of course, the ship responds quite well too. And on top of that, the transition between the normal speed and the warp speed. The warp. It's so seamless. The thing that I really like in this particular project is definitely the warp type of thing. There's no big explosion. It's a gradual increase in speed, which is another way to, you know, do the warp speed. Which is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. Oh god! So, in general, this would put this game ahead of one particular other alpha. So then, I bet you're wondering, well, where are the failures? Oh boy, well, not to be too harsh on the 5-man development team. Of course, the stations look like crap, even though I do like the explosions that spaceships make when they explode. So that's a plus and a minus. There's not much of a choice, well, at least yet, between the spaceships. The ship detailing actually hasn't changed that much. I mean, maybe something that I can't recall the difference from.
Do this one. Ooh, nice. Yeah, the ship design seems... I like it.
They're a bit on the bulky side, essentially one big bulk. And the tutorial is... Wait, no, please don't, no, please don't, no, oh god, no. Stop, oh my god, every time I... Okay, so what is happening right... So what is happening right now, every single thing from this list is a fucking video, right? I'll tell these developers the same thing I told Space Engineer developers. Video tutorials on YouTube are not in-game tutorials. Also, while developers boast about a whole one-to-one procedurally generated map, the reality for such a game is quite grim, to be frank, at the very moment. See, the game relies on two things to sell itself for the most part, and that is multiplayer and massive amounts of players in one place, in one server. Sure, I absolutely love that idea. I mean, that's why I loved PlanetSide 2. But first of all, you just launched this particular project on early access on Steam, so you already had your first big launch, and the player amount doesn't seem to be reaching the maximums, nowhere near. In fact, the game feels like a desert at this point. And it's been only a couple of months. Yes, you have the thing that the other alpha seems to struggle so much, which is actually having a core gameplay, or at least core functions, work well, and optimization being okay, so that you're not running a slideshow. But unfortunately, relying on multiplayer is just not working out, and the game will keep on dying. But okay, let's say you have those 1,000 players in one server. Will the game really feel any more different from that desert that I mentioned? Okay, here's what I mean. Alright, so I'm recording that same thing here. Okay, let's open up a new page, right? So here's, for example, how I see Team Fortress 2. Let's say this is where the action happens, and this is where the action happens. And sometimes there are smaller action points, choke points, and whatnot else that happen, in between, right? So this is how the Team Fortress looks on its general maps, okay? This is how the Infinity Battlescape will look like to me. This is action, this is action, this is action, this is action, this is action. Maybe there's action there. Yeah, because of that massive scale, there's so much empty space in, well, space, obviously. And as interesting as it may end up being, it will still just feel very empty. And speaking of the multiplayer things, well, to kindly put again, the game is struggling with the player base. I mean, seriously, it technically just launched. But there are, if not full fixes, then at least ways to improve. And hey, I feel generous, so I might as well suggest something. And my fix would be to, well, do what Dota does. Put in endless waves of NPCs. See, player versus player, well, with the current player base may not be the most exciting thing around, but when you put in NPCs, both the new players who don't really know how to play will be able at least to kill something, and it will feel that there is actually something going on within the game, even if it's not exactly player doing it. So while some of the players will just go and manage the creeps, I mean NPCs, there may be that rare instance when a player appears and then it's a real battle. So you never know. Maybe that's the real fix that is required, or maybe something else. But as it is in the current state, because you just launched, I'm sorry to say it's not gonna get better. Or at least you'll have to expand way more effort than is, well, honestly worth doing. But hey, I'm not saying it's impossible. So the best of luck to you, because it looks good, it runs well. Now just get that gameplay loop and maybe details in time, and you'll have actually a game that I'll say is decent. Maybe even good, who knows? Do 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 do. Okay. I'm here. Oh gods! Why am I being shot? Why am I being shot? Man, just destroy, 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 destroy. I'm God. I'm God's. I'm God's. No! No! Fuck! Oh, why? What is my life? Oh. You know, launching off a gas giant. Ooh! I know! I mean, this looks amazing. You know, okay, fine. The star base looks like kind of a crap, to be honest. And, there's nothing but just a couple of gas clouds and so on and so forth. But the thing is, imagine this just having a bit more polish, right? More gas clouds, or just clouds in general being, flown around and all that stuff across the horizons, details being put in place across, the gas giants in general. Imagining that you're literally floating just above a gas cloud. A gas giant.